Matisse, Degas, Picasso. Do any of those names sound familiar to you? And would you be surprised that they are connected to jelly printing? And by now you're probably thinking to yourself, shut the front door. Hi, I'm Sherry with Ratchet Up Your Art, where we take the ordinary to the extraordinary and provide a different perspective along the way. And those famous artists that I talked about earlier, we're going to talk about how they influence jelly printing and deep dive into what monoprinting is. So go grab your favorite beverage while we ratchet up your art. So what exactly are gel plates? To understand what gel plates are, we're going to travel back in time to the 17th century to understand monoprinting or monotyping and meet some of the forefathers of this technique and how they relate to gel plates. I'm going to use the word monoprinting as a general term to include monotyping. And while they have some similarities, they do have their differences. But that's a discussion for another day. Now, monoprinting is about creating the image one time. Mono meaning one. So you would pull a print one time. You wouldn't be able to recreate that print. Let me further explain what a monoprint is. A monoprint is an impression of a single image onto different types of surfaces, such as lithostones, woodcuts, metal, and even jelly plates. An image is created onto those surfaces, and then paper is laid over it, and a print is pulled. Thus, the monoprint. Next, we're going to talk about those forefathers of monoprinting and their different techniques. So keep on watching while we ratchet up your art. The first artist I'm going to talk about is a 17th century Italian bad boy artist by the name of Castiglione. He was always in trouble with the law, which overshadowed his work of art, but he also influenced other artists like Degas and Picasso. What I find interesting about his artwork and how it relates back to jelly printing is that he devised a new printmaking process by drawing images directly onto an unetched plate and then pulling unique impressions. The way he made his images onto an unetched plate was by using brushes and rags and his fingers and mark-making materials such as sticks. This is very in line with the way the jelly plate works and how we create our art onto the jelly plate. You can learn more about Castiglione by checking out the Modified Method YouTube channel. There's a 2-part video series on this artist, with the second part being more about his printing technique. I have a link below in the description of this video for you to go check out. The next artist I'd like to talk about is Degas. Degas is a 19th century French artist who often is remembered by his ballerinas. Those were often his subjects in his artwork. But what's really not known is that he also was a printmaker, and he really tried to push the limits of his printmaking. They were often considered experimental at the time. Degas was influenced by Castiglione's printmaking methods, and Degas would often rework his plates in a variety of ways by wiping color away or adding color to his plates. And he also too used unique tools like rags and fingers and sticks and brushes. But after he would get a pull from his plate, he would often use pastels and other paints to enhance his prints. The correlation here to jelly printing is that oftentimes when we do our printing pulls, we will enhance our prints through inks and paints and even pastels, much like Degas. The Museum of Modern Art has several great videos about Degas and his printmaking technique. I have a link below for you to go check those out. Now, the next artist I'm going to talk about is Pablo Picasso. Everybody knows Pablo Picasso, or they should. But what's not really known is his printmaking technique and how they relate to jelly printing. Pablo Picasso is a modern day 20th century artist whose artwork and printmaking with lino cuts were very experimental and forward-thinking for the time. What's interesting about his printmaking is his layered effects to his monoprints and using one single block to create a multi-layer image. While he was using linoleum to create his work, the same layered techniques can be applied to jelly printing. The British Art Fund has a great video on his lino cut process, and you should go check them out. Now that we have briefly touched on these artists, I'd like to hear from you. Who inspires you? Who's the artist that inspires you to create your works of art on the gel plate? Mine was Castiglione because of the techniques he developed in monoprinting. And I will have a video on deep diving into his techniques. So go ahead and comment below because I would really like to hear from you and who inspires you with your jelly printing art. And you never know, I may just create a video on them as well and try out their techniques. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you have not already subscribed, please consider doing so. It would really make my day. Thank you for watching Ratchet Up Your Art.